Here's an update on the Mach 1. Got the other side all finished up. Welded the window. Finished up some of the stuff in the bottom. And little spots that I needed to touch up. I got the back on this side done. I still need to do this window, ledge, and the wheel well in the front. I'm gonna go ahead and focus on this side first. Line it up. These lines here match up pretty good. This one needs to be pushed in some. And the problem that I'm having is that if you look, this line is not quite lined up with this one. They're not really the same. This one's like I guess a little bit wider. This one's more narrow. But as long as I can get this line to match up with this line, I'll be pretty happy, and then I'll just use some filler or something to kind of make it blend in some. So I'm gonna go ahead and focus on this for now. Once I get all that done, then I'll do the rest. That way I have some wiggle room to move the metal around. Starting to do some metal work. Got this corner when I cut it. It was all rusted out. Here's the bottom now. I need to clean some of this stuff so I can get a piece of sheet metal and put it on there and then fold it over. It's gonna be a little tricky because the corners are a little bit rounded. So need to do that. I got this patch done here. I just have it taped up so it doesn't get all rusted. I need to spray some primer on there, just for now. And I got the corner done on this one a little bit rounded, which I had to cut a few grooves on it and then just kind of fold it over and then cover the holes with weld and then grind it. It turned out okay. So that's what I'm gonna do here with this patch. And hopefully it turns out as close to factory as possible. It's gonna be kind of hard to mimic this little round corner, but I'll do my best. I have to do this to both doors, so if anything, you know, I'll do what I do there to all four corners and you won't be able to tell at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip it over, clean the other side up, make a template for the sheet metal, and start welding. It's pretty flush, pretty happy with the patch. I got the round on the corner. That's as close as it's gonna get. So I need to finish welding the side, grind it, and then move on to the next side. And I'm guessing I'm also gonna put some kind of a filler rod on the edge to kind of make the gaps a little bit tighter. But so far so good. It's not as hard as I thought it was gonna be. Here's the patch all finished up. Turned out pretty good. I like how the lines are clean. I made this side a little bit longer so I won't have to fill it as much. I just have to turn it over and weld the bottom side. I even did that little notch here because it was kind of notched there. Here's the circle. I'm gonna put a little bit of weld in the corner and then weld back here, and then the spot welds, and then I'll move on to the other corner. Before I do this corner fits pretty good, so I'm gonna make a template out of cardboard or something to kind of, once I cut this, so I can kind of mimic how long it is on both sides, and then I'll just make the exact same piece and put it in there. I'm pretty sure like the other side, this part here is going to be all rusted out, so I may have to remake that piece before I put this patch on there. So go ahead and flip it over, weld the bottom, and then move on to the side. Stop. It's not perfect, but for my first time doing this, I'm happy with it. Need to figure out how to smooth this section out. Got all the spot welds, cleaned everything, welded that corner. So try to figure out how to clean this up, then I'll move to the other side and do the same thing. Got that corner cut out. It's not as bad as the other side. This is the only rust that I saw, so I'm gonna replace it. It goes right there. And took this piece out instead of grinding it with the grinder and then just taking this piece off. I decided to take the spot welds off and then just remove it. That way I can just kind of use it as a reference, and also so I can get the exact same shape as the original when I fold it over, just to give it that look like it's an original door. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a quick template, clean this up, weld that, and then hopefully put the patch back on. I got this area cleaned up. I'm gonna blow all the stuff that's inside off, and then I'm gonna spray some of this rust treatment in there. This is why I wanted to keep that piece that I cut off. I unfolded the creases and then I made this, so it's gonna look exactly the same. So all I have to do is just kind of fold the edges. Since it's so small, I'm just gonna use these pliers, put it on the line, make my way across, up and down, and hopefully it will be an exact fit. So I'm gonna crease it, and then I'm gonna make this piece, and I'll show you how that turns out. Finish that little patch. I grinded it smooth on the other side. This side's not that important because you're really not gonna see it. I got the patch done, fits perfect. I even got this factory look on the corner, which doing it this way, I think it's better than grinding the edge and then cutting this. It is easier, but you're able to get a better template if you leave it. Here's my little piece. Made the template off of it, which I think I'm gonna do for the other door as well. This corner came out okay, but not as good as the other one. So doing it this way is definitely better in my opinion. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and start welding it, and then fix some other little rust spots that I saw around the door. Finish the patch. Feel like it turned out well. It looks just like the factory did. Didn't have to weld or shape it as much as I did with this side here. I wish I would have done it the other way, but it's not a big deal. It's gonna get some seam sealer that goes on the edges, and you're really never gonna see it. My other issue is this part here. So what I'm thinking about doing is going straight across and then down and over, just to get this section here out. This is the worst part. The rest of it's pretty good, pretty solid. So it's not as bad as some of the pictures that I've seen online, but I want to go ahead and get it out because it looks like it has a bunch of junk in there, and maybe when I cut it there'll be other stuff that needs attention inside. So I'll go ahead and cut it and then see how I'm going to fix it. The easy part done, cutting all the Swiss cheese. So originally I was gonna just make this one piece because this looked good. That's a spot weld there. But then I decided that I wanted to clean this piece here, and there was a bunch of junk in there. So I just decided to cut straight through it. I may still make it in the two-piece because I think I can make this a lot easier by doing it in two pieces. So I'll make this, and then once I make that, I'll probably just kind of weld this part on there. Right now I'm going to go ahead and treat it for rust, and then just kind of work on shaping the metal piece. I'll show you what that looks like before I weld it, and then hopefully a video of it on how it looks after. So get some metal out and start shaping. Some scrap metal from the old quarter panels, and what I'm gonna do is shape this, clean all the paint off. I kind of already have it shaped, so if you can imagine it being just a rectangular piece, I shoved it underneath here to kind of get the shape, and then I marked it with the Sharpie and I cut it out so it has a pretty good profile of what the door is. So now I guess I'll just kind of mimic the size here of this and then start cutting it and fitting it on here and see how it fits. The patch coming along, got it tack welded, fits pretty good around the corners. I used 2 pliers to make that curve there to kind of match this here. So all I have to do now is just finish kind of spot welding it, and then just make this little piece separately. That way I get this nice bend without having to cut a bunch of slices on the metal. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up, and then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. The missing piece fabricated. So now I just got to tack it. I feel like it turned out pretty good. I even made the little curve that goes in. I did it with a pair of pliers. The lines just kind of tells me where the curve starts on here. And I wish I would have done it straight, but instead I had to do a little notch to kind of fill in the gap there. So pretty tight fit in my opinion. It also follows the curve nicely. So I'm just gonna tack it all the way around, and now it's just butt weld the entire thing, and then just kind of grind the weld and see what it looks like. Here it is after I welded it. I have to clean it up some, but you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. So now I'm just gonna do the painstaking grinding and see how everything looks. I think some of the rough edges and stuff will get covered up with some fiberglass Bondo stuff that's made for this type of application. So I think it turned out pretty well. Now I'm just gonna probably put the door back on and maybe work on the welds with the door on the car. But I think both corners turned out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the patch that I did there. So now I'm just gonna clean up the door and put it back, and maybe start on the other door or work on the gap first and then on the other door. But at least I have an idea of how to do the other side now. Now that I got the 2 corners done, I'm gonna focus on fixing this. The guy that had it before me, I don't know what he was thinking, but he cut it out. So I'm just gonna cut it straight and then just make a template of this side, flip it over to kind of mimic that same section. So go ahead and cut that real quick, weld it on, and then I'll go ahead and hang the door. Here's the patch that I made. Believe it or not, that little patch, in my opinion, was harder than the ones on the bottom of the door. But it's done now, so let's move on to the next. Got the door installed. It wasn't that bad. I marked it with some marker on the hinges, so it went back pretty easily. The patches look pretty good, a lot better than what it did before. And I started doing the gaps. So it's not really as hard as I thought it was gonna be. I've seen a few videos online, and decided to try it because the gaps were just too big for my liking. And I think the gap that I'm gonna go with, because this is what's in the trunk, is I got 2 paint paddles together, and it fits pretty tight here. So this is pretty much the gap that I want consistently going up. So if you can imagine, that gap was like almost four of these, and then it got skinnier towards the top. But now I'm gonna have a consistent line all the way down, and I'm thinking I'm gonna have to do it in the front too. Just a little bit too much, not sure yet, just maybe on the top. This part here, it's really not that bad. This is fine, just the top part looks a little wider. So I may even just put some weld from here all the way to here and just kind of shape it. We will see. So let's go ahead and try this. Filling in the boat welds, and what I use is this rod. I got it from a guy on YouTube, Yo Daddy Garage, and he uses some baskets for the tomato cages. So that's what I'm gonna use. I just cleaned all the paint and gunk off of it. So gonna go ahead and do both doors with that, and hopefully my wife doesn't figure out that she's missing a tomato cage. So let's go ahead and finish up before she comes out and finds out. I'm not an expert, but my opinion, as long as it works, it's fine with me. I'm sure I missed a few little things here and there. For some reason, they welded really good from here to here, and the bottom was kind of rough, and then the very top was kind of rough. But seems like it welded just fine. So I just need to clean all these welds up, and then I'll just get a black Sharpie and kind of see where I have to shave it. I'll do a little bit at a time. That way I don't have to re-weld the rod in there because I went too far. Top gap looks pretty nice. It looks like a modern car, but I do want it to look somewhat original, so I'm gonna stick to the gap that's around here. It looks like I'll probably be okay from here to about here, and then from here up is where I need to start shaping it. But I'm gonna go ahead and clean this weld, and to grind it, I'm gonna go ahead and pull it outside because it makes a mess inside. The other thing that I'm not too sure of, I've researched it, but I don't see anything on YouTube or anything, is what do you do with the rod inside? Because if you leave it like this, it's gonna look ugly with the seam. I know it gets seam sealer and stuff, but do people put Bondo? If so, what type of Bondo? Thought about just welding it like I did in the outside. But I'm gonna ask around, see what they think is best, and then kind of go from there. So for now, I'll pull the car out and then start grinding. Shape doesn't look too bad. A few little touch-ups. Need to put some wheels there, and I need to build up this corner. It's not quite as high as this. A few little pinholes, but it's coming along. So let's fire up the welder and start doing the final touches. Alright guys, got it all ground down. Like I said before, it's painstaking, but the end result looks pretty good. So now I just need to start shaping it. I'll probably do that tomorrow. It's getting a little late on me, but I asked around to Joe Daddy's Garage and asked him what he does to the back once he puts in the rod, and he said he welds it, which was what I was thinking of doing anyway. So I went ahead and welded it. I ground it smooth, or as smooth as I can, and all I have to do now is just shape it, and then put some of that
fiberglass filler that I bought that's made for this type of application, and call it a day. So I'll probably do some of that stuff tomorrow and then move on to some other rust spots. But it turned out pretty good for my first gap, so kind of excited and look forward to seeing it all finished.